You have no idea how cruel people can be when they have been deeply wronged. Now, you will hear several such stories that, I'm sure, will leave you in shock. A young woman arrives at the airport and boards a plane. Her name is Isabel, and she is a professional model. During the flight, she meets a man named Salgado. He's a music critic. Isabel confesses that she once dated an aspiring composer, Gabriel Pasternak, but cheated on him with his best friend. Salgado replies that he also knew this guy. He had once harshly criticized his work and destroyed his career. Another passenger joins their conversation. It turns out she also knows Pasternak. She was his teacher at music school. The other passengers are shocked. They all know Pasternak in some way. Every single person on this flight is somehow connected to him. And more than that, each of them has wronged the young composer in some way. But that's not all. None of the passengers actually bought a ticket for this flight. They all received them for free, under different pretexts. A flight attendant appears in the cabin. She announces that Gabriel Pasternak is working as a crew member on this flight, and she once hurt him deeply too. 5 minutes ago, he entered the cockpit and hasn't returned yet. The door is locked, and the pilots are not responding. The plane is rapidly losing altitude. One of the passengers, Pasternak's former psychiatrist, tries to reason with the composer, but it's no use. Meanwhile, an elderly couple sits on a lawn, reading newspapers. They look up just in time to see the plane hurtling toward them. A car pulls up to a roadside diner. The waitress greets the new customer and offers him a meal. After taking his order, she heads to the kitchen, where she confesses to the cook that she recognizes the man. It's the infamous mobster Rafael Cuenca. Years ago, he took her family's home, and her father couldn't bear it. The cook suggests adding rat poison to the bastard's food. The waitress refuses. However, the cook is determined, as she has already done time in prison and isn't afraid of going back. The waitress serves the man fried potatoes with eggs. The cook admits that she secretly poisoned his food. The waitress is horrified and watches in despair as the mobster eats. A bus pulls up outside. It's Raphael's son arriving. The waitress tries to take away the poisoned food, but the mobster rudely pushes her aside. His son takes a bite of his father's potatoes. Seeing this, the waitress tries to take the plate away once again. Raphael yells at her, and she throws the fried potatoes in his face. He immediately attacks the girl, but the cook with a knife comes to her rescue. She slices the mobster up like a head of cabbage. Raphael's son starts vomiting. The police arrive and take the cook away. The handsome man, Diego, speeds down a deserted highway in his luxurious Audi. He spots an old battered Peugeot on the road and tries to overtake it, but the stubborn driver, Mario, won't let him. When Diego finally manages to pass, he curses at the driver, flips him off, and speeds away. Soon after, Diego's Audi gets a flat tire. He is forced to stop before a bridge to change it. While working on the repair, he notices the same Peugeot approaching. Realizing that the driver might seek revenge, Diego locks himself inside his car. Mario parks his car in front of the Audi and steps onto the road. He breaks the Audi's windshield wipers, pulls out a crowbar, and smashes the windshield. Diego immediately calls the police. Meanwhile, Mario climbs onto the hood of the Audi and uses his rival's car as a toilet. Satisfied with his revenge, Mario gets back into his Peugeot. Unable to bear the humiliation, Diego steps on the gas and rams Mario's car off a steep embankment. Diego quickly changes the tire and tries to flee the crash scene. Meanwhile, Mario emerges from the water and warns Diego that he will find him and take brutal revenge. Just 200 meters down the road, Diego suddenly turns around and tries to run Mario over. But at that moment, his tire comes loose, sending the Audi off the road, where it crashes down onto the very same Peugeot. The airbag deploys, knocking Diego unconscious. Mario climbs into the Audi through the trunk. When Diego comes to his senses and sees Mario, a vicious fight breaks out between them. Diego wields his fire extinguisher as a weapon, but Mario wraps a seatbelt around his neck and pushes him out of the car. While Diego struggles to free himself from the noose, Mario stuffs a piece of cloth into the gas tank and sets it on fire. Diego manages to break free, grabs Mario's pants, and the fight continues. A tow truck arrives at the bridge, but it's already too late. At the scene of the tragedy, the police discover two bodies. They conclude that it must have been a crime of passion. After all, the two men appear to be embracing. A man named Simon Fisher works as a demolition engineer, specializing in bringing down old buildings and structures. After his shift, he stops by a pastry shop to buy a cake for his daughter's birthday. Upon leaving the store, Fisher notices that his car has been towed for parking in the wrong place. He heads to the impound lot, where he argues that there was no sign prohibiting parking where he left his vehicle. Therefore, he believes he doesn't have to pay a fine. Moreover, he insists that the company should apologize, return his car, and compensate him for the inconvenience. Unfortunately, the employee rudely refuses and calls up the next customer. After wasting an entire day trying to retrieve his car, Fisher fails to make it to his daughter's birthday on time and misses the celebration. His family is deeply upset with him, and his wife asks for a divorce. Sometime later, the same thing happens again. Fisher's car is towed once more, forcing him to return to the office of the company he despises. This time, the protagonist suffers a nervous breakdown and wrecks the office in a fit of rage. The man is arrested. With the help of a good lawyer, Fisher manages to avoid prison. However, the incident makes headlines in local newspapers, and he gets immediately fired from his job. His personal life also falls apart. Fisher's wife files for divorce and demands alimony. Worse yet, she forbids him from seeing their daughter. Desperate and broken, Fisher decides to take revenge when his car is towed for the third time. He hides explosives in the trunk and deliberately parks in the wrong place. Before long, an explosion shakes the impound lot. Fisher ends up in prison. Surprisingly, the public is entirely on his side. His desperate act brings much-needed attention to the deep corruption within the system of fines and vehicle impoundment. While in prison, Fisher receives a visit from his wife and daughter. It happens to be his birthday. Surrounded by family and fellow inmates, he blows out the candles on his cake. A young man named Santiago returns home in the morning after a night at a bar and confesses to his parents that he hit someone with his car and fled the scene. The news reports reveal that the victim was a pregnant woman. Tragically, she didn't survive. Santiago's father, Mauricio, is a wealthy architect. Determined to keep his son out of prison, he calls the family lawyer, and together they devise a cunning plan. Their gardener, Jose, agrees to take the blame in exchange for $500,000, with the promise that he'll be released from prison in a year and a half. The prosecutor arrives at Mauricio's home to question the gardener and conducts a brief investigative experiment. It doesn't take him long to realize that Jose couldn't have been the one behind the wheel. Seeing that their plan is falling apart, Mauricio and his lawyer attempt to bribe the prosecutor. The lawyer speaks to him privately and later informs Mauricio that the prosecutor demands $1 million for his silence. On top of that, the lawyer himself wants $500,000 for his services. It's an enormous sum, but Mauricio is willing to do whatever it takes to protect his son. Soon, the prosecutor demands an additional $30,000 for extra expenses. Outraged, Mauricio protests. After all, the prosecutor has already received $1 million. But then he makes a shocking discovery. The prosecutor was never offered any money at all. The lawyer had deceived everyone. Furious, Mauricio scraps his entire scheme and decides that his son must face the consequences of his actions. The lawyer begs him not to make a rash decision. Mauricio agrees, but on one condition: his associates will receive exactly $1 million and not a cent more. A crowd of journalists and outraged citizens has gathered outside the house. The gardener, with his head covered, is escorted toward a police vehicle. Suddenly, the husband of the deceased woman emerges from the crowd and strikes Jose several times with a hammer. Ramina and Ariel are getting married today, and they are incredibly happy. Guests congratulate the newlyweds and wish them a lifetime of love. After some energetic dancing, it's time for family photos. Ramina notices her fiancé gazing at one of the guests with tenderness and passion. Suspicious, she grabs Ariel's phone and discovers that the woman is saved in his contacts as guitar teacher. During the traditional first dance, Ramina forces Ariel to confess. Yes, he had indeed been having an affair with his colleague Lourdes. Devastated, Romina runs to the rooftop, sobbing uncontrollably and contemplating jumping off. A chef who was smoking there spots the girl and calms her down. Wiping away her tears, Romina decides to take revenge. She cheats on her fiancé with that very same chef. Ariel walks in on them mid-act. As the chef hurriedly pulls up his pants, Romina coldly promises her unfaithful husband that she will take everything he owns and make his life a living hell. Overwhelmed, Ariel vomits right on the rooftop. Romina returns to the wedding party and starts dancing wildly with her friends. The guests assume the celebration is still on, and Ariel's friends push him to dance along. Noticing that Lourdes is trying to leave, Romina pulls her onto the dance floor, spins her in a frenzied dance, and hurls her into a mirror. The glass shatters, cutting both women. The music stops, the lights come on, and the guests panic, calling for a doctor. Paramedics arrive and treat Lourdes' wounds. Romina insists on continuing the fun and asks her friends to pull ribbons from the wedding cake. Whoever gets the one with a ring will be married next year. Ariel declares the party is over. He has spoken to the family lawyer and plans to sue his unfaithful wife. Romina just laughs in response, making Ariel break down in tears. Romina tells the cameraman to record her husband's meltdown so she can play the footage at her next wedding and watch it with her children instead of cartoons. Hearing this, Ariel's mother lunges at Romina, trying to rip out her hair. The bride steps on the broken glass, cutting her feet, while Ariel continues to cry. Medics arrive and bring everyone back to their senses. Once the chaos subsides, Ariel takes a few gulps of champagne straight from the bottle, grabs a large knife, cuts a piece of wedding cake, enjoys it, and then extends his hand to Romina. The music starts playing. The newlyweds dance and kiss as if nothing happened. Within a minute, they strip each other down and engage in a wrestling match right on the banquet table next to their wedding cake.